Not one, not two, three, four, five, six. That's 7 1,500 meter global titles for the great Faith Kipyegon. Kenya goes 2, 3.
No, 1, 2.
Excuse me, 1, 2. Third place goes to Jess Hull of Australia. America goes home with no mid-D or distance medals so far in this one. Should Nikki Hiltz be disappointed? We'll talk about that. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, she's been looking for that 400 flat American record for quite some time. Well, she's got it now. Masterful time today. 48:30.
29.
Oh, yeah, they rounded down to 29. Is Marita Cox 47.7 world record on the table in the final? What else happened tonight, John?
What did you say the world record? It's 47.60. All right, Robert, maybe you're feeling the effects, second day travel, getting some fatigue, but is it under threat? I mean, we'll get to that. Hamish Kerr wins the high jump. We had Cordell Tinch culminates a really incredible journey through the sport. We talk about Donovan Brazier taking 3 years away from racing. Donovan Brazier was at least a professional athlete during that time. Cordell Tinch took 3 years away from the sport in the middle of college, and now he's a world champion. 2 years. He enrolled at Pittsburgh State, Kansas, Division II school in January 2023. It's now September 2025, and he's the world champion. So pretty incredible stuff for him in the hurdles. Sub 13 in the final as well. Really clutch performance. Grant Holloway, his streak of world titles ends at 3. He does not even make the final. What's up with him? Bronze and silver for Jamaica as well. So the American-Jamaican sprint rivalry continues. 800 prelims. Cooper Luckenhouse, the 16-year-old's incredible season is over. He did not advance from his prelim, but Donovan Brazier and Bryce Hoppel both made it through. Yeah. And then we got the 1,500 final on the men's side to look forward to tomorrow. But let's focus on tonight. Let's begin with the 1,500 as we did last night with the men's semis. Tonight was the women's final. Faith Kipyegon, I think we've run out of superlatives at this point. 7 global titles in this event overall. The only one she hasn't won since 2016 was Doha 2019 when she was coming back from pregnancy and giving birth and lost to Safan Hassan, who ran 3:51 in that race. That's the only time she didn't win gold in that span, and she still got the silver. 7 individual titles in the same event. There are only 4 other athletes in the history of track and field who've ever done that. Usain Bolt in the hammer. Mondo Duplantis may be on the way to joining them one day. He got his 5th straight gold medal yesterday, and Ryan Krauser has 6. There's a bunch of luminaries at 6. Michael Johnson has 6 in the 400. Krauser has 6 in the shot put. But to do 7, there's only 5 people who have ever done that, and the way she's done it is really crazy. 2.77 seconds was her margin of victory tonight, which is the 2nd largest in World Championship history, behind only Liu Dong of China in 1993.
Look, it was masterful.
Yeah.
I took to the message board right afterwards and said, this was masterful. Women's running at its finest. She just squeezed it down. If you're at work, if you're at school, she went 64, 63, 60, 44. Started off a 4 flat pace, ended up running 3:52. And go to the forum, check out the page. I mean, I had the 100-meter splits from World Athletics. Who was the leader at 100 meters? Faith Kipyegon. Faith Kipyegon. On and on and on. Every step of this race, she was in the lead. And it was just great. The other thing that was cool was, I mean, you got to give Jess Hull some credit. With 200 meters to go, I was like, could she do this? And she keeps trying to do it. Now, the last 150 was complete opposite. Hull ran out of steam. Faith had another gear. But she made it interesting, and she hung on for a medal. She had nothing left, but she got her way to the finish line here. So that was cool. And
Yeah, she ran for gold and got bronze, and there's nothing to be ashamed for there. She probably could have got silver with more conservative effort, but she wanted to go for gold and try to beat the GOAT. Tons of respect to her for that, and to back up the silver from Paris last year. So I don't think she has anything to be ashamed by. And she was excited. She's running the 800 as well. That's kind of like a free hit for her the rest of the meet, so that'll be fun.
If you're just joining us, special live edition of the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast. We do one podcast every week for everybody, and then we do a bonus podcast for our Supporters Club members. And we're at Worlds and Olympics. We do daily podcasts for our Supporters Club members. Get this ad-free as a podcast on demand. You can wake up on the West Coast and just have it there for you. Go to Let'sRun.com/subscribe, Let'sRun.com/subscribe. All right, let's talk about some of these other results. The big surprise, coming in was we thought this was a wonderful medal opportunity for Nikki Hiltz of USA. Nikki caught a break when Gudaf Sagai opted for the 5 and the 10, and then Daribu Watelji of Ethiopia was banned from the meet. And so based on seasonal best, Nikki would have been the third fastest person in this field. And Nikki instead ends up 5th. And the silver medal it did not go to Nelly Chepchirchir, who won a bunch of Diamond Leagues this year. It went to Dorcas Ewoi. If you're saying who, hey, I don't blame you. Formerly of Campbell University as of 2 years ago. This woman was far from an NCAA star. And she's now running in the U.S., training with Alistair and Amy Craig of Puma Elite, and she is your World Championship silver medalist. It's really a stunning performance. This was the biggest shock that we've seen, I think, in the distances so far.
Right. The only thing I would say is that after the semifinal, how good she looked in that. She was in Kipyegon semi, and she finished right behind her. I was looking, I'm like, oh, okay. She might be a threat in this final. But you look at what her resume was coming into this meet. She had run one Diamond League in her life, Rabat, in May, where she finished 3rd and ran 3:59, which was a personal best. She's got an 800 PB of 1:58.19, and was primarily an 800 runner at Campbell University. She started at JUCO, then transferred to Campbell. She got 5th at NCAA's in the 800 her senior year. College PBs 2:01 and 4:14. That doesn't scream World Championship silver medalist. Like Jess Hull, she was an NCAA champion in college. That was the sort of athlete who, okay, yeah, maybe if she keeps improving. Ewoi, not like that, but she goes to Puma Elite. And last year, her first full season as a pro, she ran some PBs. She got down to 1:58. She got down to 4:05. So certainly was making progress. She was winning some races on the U.S. circuit at the end of the season. So Walter Meiler, the Falmouth Mile.
And that's a huge improvement from 2:01 to 1:58.
Yes. So, clearly she was improving, and whatever was going on at Puma Elite was helping her. But then this was another big leap forward. Because last year, I asked her, you didn't even run the Kenyan Olympic trials last year. And she said, well, yeah, it was possible. Like I got a qualifier, but it was, it was right before the trials started, and the travel getting over there. I didn't think I'd even be competitive. It wasn't really worth it to me to go run the trials. So she didn't run the trials for the Kenyan team. This year she goes there and runs the trials, finishes 2nd. So finishing 2nd at the Kenyan trials, your radar's up a little bit. Like, okay, she was 3rd at the Kenyan trials. So then you're like, all right, if you're 3rd at the Kenyan trials, you're making the Kenyan team, you're a contender to make the final. And that's what her goal was coming into the final. She said, all right, I'm going to try to make the final. And then whatever happens from there just happens. Just run the race and see what happens. And she put herself in good position, hung, and then, she wasn't quite as aggressive as Hull and Chepchirchir were, and that allowed her to hang back and kind of kick them down at the end. But I did reach out to her coach, Alistair Craig, and I just said, how do you explain this? This was a 4+ second PB in the World Championship final to take the silver medal. She went from 3:59 to 3:54. That sort of improvement is very rare in track and field. It's kind of nuts. But she just put herself in the race, and Alistair said he thought there were 2 things that really were key to her improvement. One, he credited Puma's spike technology. He said they came out with a new spike in June, and they just started training a lot better. The times were a lot faster in practice. So that's one thing. And he also said, she's pretty consistent. She's never finished outside the top 5 in a race while she's been running for Puma Elite. The problem was she hasn't really been in many races. If you look at what she'd done, she didn't race at all since the Kenyan trials on July 22nd. She was putting in time first in North Carolina, then at Park City where they were at altitude for a little bit before the World Champs. And she was just like, I knew I was making progress. I wasn't in any big race, but I knew I was getting fitter. She gets to World, she makes the final like a goal, and then now she's a silver medalist. So it is pretty nuts to see the progression, but that's how she got there.
The coaching job of the year, or even just signing her, she's totally a filler, John. Everyone would have overlooked her. I think if Puma doesn't sign her, it's like she doesn't have a pro career. And well, I guess go buy the Puma shoes, I guess. He wants to credit the shoes. Good for him. Because, she was top 5 because she was running like B and C races until now. Like, totally unexpected. I mean, if you think of all the people at NCAAs who like were better than her, wondering like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have stuck with this, who aren't running anymore. That was the surprise of the day. Kipyegon is so good. It's boring. Would you guys say now?
No, it's not boring for me because there's still doubt. Hiltz keeps it close.
This
is what we would want to see from Jakob from the front. Like, there's still doubt, even when you're like, Kipyegon is so much better than anyone else in history, but there's still a little bit of doubt with 200 meters to go.
Yeah, when she got there, I'm like, is this finally the year? Now, she broke the world record in July, so I was thinking probably Faith. Like we say, she has no weaknesses as a 1500 runner. She can go wire to wire in a fast time. She can win in a sit and kick race like she did in Rio in 2016 because she's got an incredible close. Like, she is essentially the perfect women's 1500 meter runner. But yeah, you got to watch the race. And I was just I tried to appreciate the greatness. It wasn't the most thrilling 1500 final I've ever seen, but this is a rare talent that we get to see. And she's still at the peak of her powers, even though she's now, in her 30s, to still be operating at this level for so long. I mean, she was the Olympic champ back in 2016, and now she's done it again 9 years later. And the winning margins, it does show you a little bit how some of the gaps that exist in the women's event, in the women's 1500 compared to the men. Now, granted, this is the greatest 1500 meter runner of all time, like in her prime. So there is going to be a gap, but Kipyegon wins it 2.77 seconds to second, which is one of the biggest winning margins ever. And then Nikki Hiltz was barely within 5 seconds of the win, and Nikki finished 5th overall. They were 3:57.08. Like, 7th place, Claudia Kazmierska, 7th place, runs a PB, 3:57. 8th place runs a PB, 3:58. Sarah Madeleine of France. They're not even close. They're 5+ seconds back of the win. So the gap just is pretty large. And the other thing is her winning margins throughout the years. Imagine a man doing this, Robert, winning a world title. She won one in 2016. She won the Olympics by 1.35 seconds. Olympics in 2021, 1.39. 2022 Worlds, 1.56. 2024 Olympics, 1.27. And tonight, 2.77. 5 of her 7 titles were by more than 1 second. And in a 1500, that's a blowout.
Yeah. I mean, the top women are more outliers than the top men, but just masterful. What can you say? All right, let's get to the Americans.
Wait, John, the closest win in that time period is what?
No, he skipped the 2 that were less than a second.
But it's total domination. I can't believe you guys thought this one. This was never in question. It's only in question because someone's like within like 5 feet of her. Come on. Jess Hull fell apart so bad that last 200. You guys are giving her credit. She got a medal. I guess she went for the win. But is that foolish? She's not going to beat her.
Well, you don't know that. It's like Jordy Beamish. Jordy Beamish was significantly farther behind last night with 200 to go than Jessica Hull was. But look, let's get to the Americans. And to me, this was disappointing. And like Nikki Holtz, this was the opportunity of a lifetime to medal with the Welteji not starting, being banned from the sport, Segai not in it. The Kenyans, you never thought that Ewoi would medal, and doesn't get the job done. And I thought that, so Nikki ends up 5th. 3:57.08, and Sinclair Johnson ends up next to last, 13th. Sinclair was actually ahead of Nikki, I think, heading into the bell. Put herself in it when it was in a great spot, 3rd place on the rail. And you're like, okay, like these women have talked about getting the American record, being in the shapes of their wives, and they just didn't produce. And I thought that, sometimes it's like, well, why are we here? What questions are we going to ask that no one else is going to ask? And I was just sort of listening to the questions in the mix zone. One of our colleagues, a friend of ours, started off the interview, and I thought it was a poor question to start with Nikki. They said, oh, Nikki came into the mix zone, and they said, this reporter said, congratulations. That's not the question to ask. Like, the question is, this is a woman that really wanted to medal and was really, on paper, sort of expected to medal, I would say here. And I would say, how do you feel about that? Instead, it was like, congratulations. And then it's like, thanks. And then the first thing out of her mouth, I thought was a little bit of an alternative universe. Nikki seemed, tell me if I got the tone wrong, sort of upbeat and said, well, thanks. I improved from 7th last year to 5th. And you don't skip any steps in this sport. And no one followed up. I guess I could have, but you were recording, John, so I thought you maybe do it. Like, no one followed up with, like, what do you mean you don't skip steps? People skip steps all the time. Cooper Luckenhouse skipped like 10 steps this year. Well, the silver medalist just skipped a step.
About 5 steps.
Nelly Chipchurcher, who was beat by Hiltz in the last race, just beat you. Like, people skip steps. That's actually the way the sports works. And when I was coaching at Cornell, I used to always say to the kids, the kid that would get 5th or 6th at conference, is a sophomore, they think they're going to win. I'm like, no, the big talents keep coming in. The star recruits come in, and they get 2nd or 3rd right off the bat. And like, I don't know, like, you've been running 3. It wasn't a horrific performance because she did get 5th in the world, but this is the second straight. Dorcas Ewoi PRs for 2nd place. Nelly Chipchurcher, who was thrilled to get. I've never seen a 4th placer that happy. PRs to get 4th place. And if you look at last year's Olympics, 3rd placer, 4th placer, 5th placer, 6th placer, all PB'd. Georgia Bell, Walteji, Muir, Ijori, they all PB'd and, beat Nikki. Nikki was 7th. So this is 2 championships in a row, no PB, and, her place is, their place is improving, but to me, this was disappointing. And the upbeatness that she was saying in the mix zone was belied by the fact, because when I was watching the screen, they showed a highlight at the end of the night with her hands like this. So anyone watching live, did they watch Nikki afterwards? Was she upset initially on the track and then just putting on this public persona of like, oh, it's a great race, blah, blah, blah? Because I thought it was alternative reality.
What are you going to do? Like, come in and like, oh, that was terrible. Someone says congratulations. By then, you're disappointed you didn't medal. You put it into perspective and you say thank you very much.
Of course.
Like, you're going to handle it with grace.
Yes, Nikki was paid a compliment and was trying to handle it nicely, exactly as Weldon said. Nikki was then asked, like, how do you view it? And admitted they had been hoping for a medal and came up short. And so there was disappointment in that. And I think that's probably how Nikki feels deep down.
Well, the expectations for Nikki are very high now.
Right.
Nikki's been the top American clearly the last,
3 years.
3 years. And where Shelby had it, 350, right at 355. Nikki's dominating the Americans more now, and I think, or the quality of the other Americans are better, and Nikki's on top. I keep thinking that American record is going to fall at the end of the season, and this is the second time at the end of the season where the championship performance was kind of a letdown. I don't know, the men have set the bar so high, right? So it's like you're expecting go in there, run your best race of the season, and this wasn't it. But it's not terrible. It's sort of like, no, it was Nikki's best is going to be 2nd place tonight. Nikki runs her best. No, that can get you 2nd place.
I'm not even sure about that because this 354, the race went out in 207 or so. So it was a really fast close. Look, the question we had the entire season with Nikki Hiltz was these global championship finals, to get a medal, you have to run faster than that PB. And there were signs that Nikki was trending in that direction because Nikki was running 355 high, 356 low consistently. They won a Diamond League, 355.9 coming in. So you're looking, all right, if you've peaked everything correctly, hopefully you have maybe a little step up that you can go at Worlds and run 354 or, 353 is a big jump, but you need to run better than you ever have in one of these championships. Nikki wasn't able to do that. This was 357.0 with a 207 opener. That's pretty similar to the performance level that Nikki's been at all season. This wasn't like some awful race, but Nikki needed to raise their game and wasn't able to do it in a way that Ewoi and Chepchirchir were.
Right.
So maybe the 357 is not coming off of 203. 207.
But 207 is 359 pace. That's the type of race that Nikki likes. Not a super fast start, big close.
Right.
And she didn't have the close. They didn't have the close. I would give her a B- on this race. I mean, she and Sinclair had nothing. They had really no. The tactics were fine. The performance just wasn't there.
Well, yeah, Sinclair fell off.
Considering Ethiopia really had nothing. We're going to talk about some poor tactical races. We're going to get into Cooper Luckenhaus's race, which, look, the kid had one of the most masterful seasons ever, but it was one of the most poorly run tactical races. He ran like a 16-year-old tonight. But there was another person running like a 16-year-old, and this is why I think, Nick, you really need to take advantage of this opportunity to medal. Because what have I always said? Your first year with a new coach, I think, is a big stimulus change. She's moved from Mike Smith to Julie Benson. Julie Benson who coached Jenny Simpson to the 1,500-meter world title. I would think this would be the year that you would have the breakthrough. Nikki's now 30. She's got to wait 2 more years for another chance at this. As Shelby Houlihan's gotten older, the 1,500-meter speed starts to lead you sometimes away. So from Frairuano Haile of Ethiopia, who was 4th, it's hard to medal. I mean, it's hard to medal. This is a woman she's still only 24 years of age. She was 4th at the 2022 Worlds, 4th at the 2021 Olympics, got screwed and left off their Olympic team last year. But this is a woman that's run 354 and never medaled. So it's not easy to medal, but she looked great in the semifinals, won Nikki's heat, and today ran a horrific race. Like, she was in the back and running the whole thing in like the middle of lane 2. And I'm like, what are you doing? Either move up to it was a slow start, so get to the front and just get in on the rail, or stay in the back. Do not run in lane 2. It's 7 meters per lap. It was a disastrous race from her. And she still got up there, so she put herself like right there at the bell. But I'm like, she's run so much extra ground. If she medals here, she probably should have been in at least one spot farther. And she ends up, 7th place. So Nikki did beat her, but that was a disaster for the Ethiopians. And it's just hard because there are people like, I don't think that the Americans can touch, like the Kipyegons, Segays, Chibets. If they're running the 1,500, if they decide to triple, it's over. Now, one thing that was cool to me was Beatrice Chibet. We're going to have an epic showdown. We've got 2 of the greatest women in history. Like, have we ever seen a distance runner just firing on all cylinders like Beatrice Chibet? Have we ever seen a woman like Faith Kipyegon just firing on all cylinders? Like, almost a 3,000 world record, a 1,500-meter world record. These people, they're in the shape of their lives, and they're going to clash in the 5,000. And, they're good friends. And Chibet, I mean, did you guys see this? Like, she was thrilled. She was going nuts in the stands, cheering for her compatriots.
She's a huge Faith Kipyegon fan. Remember the Prefontaine Classic when Kipyegon broke the 1,500 world record? One of the first people losing their minds was Beatrice Chibet at the finish line. And like you said, Robert, this is the greatest 1,500-meter runner we've ever seen on the women's side by far. We've got a woman who may go down one day as the greatest 10,000-meter runner. She's won back-to-back titles, just set the world record last year. And they're clashing in the middle at 5,000 meters. So we've seen it twice already. Kipyegon won round 1 in Budapest. Chibet won round 2 in Paris. Round 3 in Tokyo. It's going to be one of the races of the meet. And this sort of friendship / rivalry on the track, I think we're going to be talking about this, years from now. Who do we give the edge to? Because both of them, I mean, who do you have right now?
We said coming in that we thought that I thought that Chibet had to be the favorite. I think there was some disagreement when we were doing our analysis. I said I think people are underestimating Faith's ability to do this. She's run 8:07. She's got great 1,500-meter speed, and if it's slow, I know Chibet's in this form of life, but so is Faith. Like, if it's over 14:40, I think Faith can pull it off. Now,
what are you guys debating?
Who's the favorite in the 5,000?
No, why? Didn't they race last year at the Olympics?
Yeah, but they raced the year before that.
Thank you. No. Kipyegon won. Excuse me. Chibet won last year. She's the favorite.
Yeah, of course she's the favorite. That's what I said. She's the favorite. But if it's slower race, she may not do it. And if I'm Segay or Kipyegon, I don't do an ounce of work. I make the 5,000 runner run away from me, break me, and then I'm just gonna to try to sit on Chibet.
But I'm not even that convinced that
all in the game says it best. I think if Segay had run the 15.5K double, she would have gotten the silver here. Now she might have run a dumb race and gone out like at 60 and not gotten the silver. But I think if Segay's in this race, just sits in the pack, she's gonna run down hole in this race.
Yeah. the 5K, I'm just not convinced that a slow race really changes my mind that much. Like, even if it's above 15 minutes, I've seen Beatrice Chibet close in 26.6 in like a 14:30 race in the Diamond League earlier this year. So I think her close is like in her last 200s as good as Faith's.
In the 14:30 race, she closed at 26.6.
I think that's what the winning time was in
That's going to be hard to beat. But again, Faith was.
I think it's very close to call, but I do give the edge to Chibet because I've seen her close faster in 5Ks. And sorry, it was a 14:27 race that she closed in 26.6. So I'm not really thinking, if it's 14:50 or something, that's a huge advantage for Kipyegon.
It's not a huge advantage, but it gets started. I'm not ruling it out just because she lost last year.
No, absolutely not. Again, greatest 1500 meter runner of all time. But we've seen. I think back to the 2003 Clash of the Titans. We had the 10K ace and the 1500 ace in Bekele and El Harouj, and neither of them won that one. It was Kipchoge. So you would think. I mean, that one wasn't a slow race. So El Harouj wasn't really able to mow them down like he did the next year in Athens. But no, that's the kind of showdown we're talking about here.
Johnson playing Gudov Sagai is going to win.
That was not my intention to imply. I don't give Gudov Sagai basically any chance of winning this race.
We've criticized her tactics all year. We're the worst tactical racer of all time. What'd she do in the 10K, though? Her tactics were much better. Now all she has to do is what perfect tactics and somehow beat the two greatest of all time.
What have we seen in these men's races, though? The race goes super slow. You don't know who's good. No, I'm just kidding. Even if the race goes super slow, I still don't see anyone out kicking Kipyegon or Chibet. But I guess, one thing. Batacletti does have a great close. I don't think she's touching either of those, but she was fourth in the Olympics last year in the 5K. She was second behind Chibet. A really slow race. I'd have her as the favorite for bronze. And I don't know if Chibet and Kipyegon try to murder each other before the last 100 and just only think about each other, maybe she picks one of them off for the silver. I could see that, but I think the winner has to be one of the Kenyans.
Right. Maybe she picks one of them off. Because somehow, I honestly feel like her chance for gold would be better if only one of them was in the race, but just in the sense of one person, you can just push too hard for the line too early or something. You'll see some of the Ethiopians on the men's side do it occasionally, and they'll just, you tie up 80 to go or something like that. But with both of them, one of them should get it right. It's going to be a great race, though.
Someone complimented Rojo and us. It's our friend Lisa here, who's the biggest Rojo fan on the internet.
Lisa's got a bikini photo that looks like Lisa's been working out. We take a break here for the Rojo self-congratulatory. I'm worried that I've lost too much weight. I don't understand why I just keep losing weight. I tried to go on a diet a year ago. The British journalists today, the Telegraph, the Guardian guys were all notified me. They're like, my God, have you been working out? What's going on? I'm like, you look amazing. I was like, I don't know. I've lost I try to use the term stone. How many stone? They're 10 kilos? And I'm like, yeah, I think so, or something like that. Someone tell me what a stone is. But looking good. Glad to be here. I'm not sure how. I got here yesterday. I somehow stayed up till 5 a.m. I hadn't slept in 46 hours. We had a great day today, though. We went and saw, John, tell people what we did.
We have a photo? Can we put a photo up?
We went out to
Well, Robert's first game plan was, I want to go for a run, and then we need to go get some real food afterwards. Let's go to McDonald's. And I said, Robert, you flew halfway around the world to Tokyo. You've got all this great local dining cuisine, basically literally hundreds of great restaurants in the city to choose from. And you want to go somewhere that you could go to anytime you want in the US. Are you insane? So I talked him out of it. I also talked him out of the run because it was 87 degrees with a 77 dew point and the sun in the middle of the day. So we went to a local restaurant, and it was, what was the two, shabu shabu and sukiyaki, basically a hot pot restaurant, and just lots of noodles, vegetables, meat. And we had lunch with Dan Mahalski and his wife, the man who was leading the World Championship steeplechase final until 410 meters to go, and who I was told today is not actually a Supporters Club member because we never gave him the right information when we were signing him up. So I think that has been remedied since. But yes, it was a really lovely meal and some actual nice Japanese food as opposed to the McDonald's fast food Robert wanted to put in his mouth.
Where's our? We got memorabilia. Where is it?
I'll go pick it up.
If I actually had my phone, I could show a picture of Mikowski and his lovely wife, Abby, at the dinner. I can't find my phone. It's someone.
It's on your computer. I just saw it on there.
Okay, well, anyways, while John looks for the gift that we got today at the restaurant.
Now,
Well-
generally, I do frown upon accepting any gifts,
Oh.
but this one is more of a sentimental item. And considering that this guy listened to literally every episode of the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast,
But really
this
only half, because he hasn't been listening to Supporters Club. Dan, you've got it about...
I think it was a member at one point. And then we said we're going to give him a free stuff, and Robert didn't send him the free one.
Oh.
Well, anyway, this guy listened when he was getting into shape and juggling semi-pro running career with coaching the Division II Latorno University. Maybe the Division III, I'm not entirely sure, down in Texas. When he was training solo in the East Texas heat, he would listen to the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast. And so he decided to say thank you by giving us a signed bib from the World Championships in Tokyo. So it says that thanks to everyone at Let's Run, Dan.
Wait, John didn't put it high enough. I don't think anyone could see that. Could you guys see that? Anyway.
Now, don't feel too bad. It's not like he gave the one that he should be giving to his children. Apparently, like you could, there's a stack of them, and you can. Well, it has his name on it though.
Yeah, he said you get a lot of spares. So anyway,
All right, guys, I'm going to put that on eBay. No, just kidding.
This starting bid is $35 on eBay. Well, here we go. I'll be downloading the photo. All right, let's turn to. My wife says sometimes I have trouble being serious. I thought about starting the podcast like, wait, we're going to have a men's 1,500 meter final with no Jared Naguse, no Cole Hawker, no Jakob Ingebrigtsen, and we're going to have a men's 1,500 semi with no Cooper Luckenhouse. 800 semi with no Cooper Luckenhouse. Someone call United. I need to go home. No, I'm enjoying Worlds, but the phenom. Cooper Luckenhouse, 142 is a 16-year-old. He was up top today in the men's 800. And there's no way to just describe this as this race was the race itself was a disaster. It was a tactical disaster. I don't think I've ever seen anyone at this level run that bad of a race tactically. And he ran it like a 16-year-old. That being said, Weldon started it, like 3 cheers for the kid. Like he had one of the most exciting, amazing years we've ever seen from a high schooler in U.S. history. And there's something about the sport. We're always obsessed about who's going to, I know somebody could break the Olympic record and we're going to be like, did you see the 16-year-old that was in 12th place in the, in the back? You're always talking about the future. And I kind of thought coming into Worlds, like this kid's like either just keeps maturing and we've never seen anything like it and he's going to be at a new level, or he might just totally flame out. And he kind of totally flamed out. But I think it was the tactics that cost him. His kick is insane. On the way up to watch this race, I'm in the elevator from the bottom of the stadium to the top. It's like it's like a long way. It's the long elevator, right? In comes a guy that looks a lot like David Rudisha. I wasn't 100% certain because he looked like Rojo 2 years ago. Probably 30 to 40 pounds heavier than he used to be when he was running. But I glanced at the thing and it said David Rudisha. So I said, well, there probably aren't 2 guys with the name of David Rudisha that look exactly like David Rudisha. So this is him. So we start chatting and, I said, what do you think about Wanyoni? He's like, well, he's doing really well, but it's tough at this level. And I was like, you got it. I said, I remember as a fan of the sport, when you won your first Olympics in 2016, you've been doing everything. But I'm like, well, he's got to front run this. He's got to win it from the front. 2012. I'm like, that's so hard to do. And he pulled it off. So it was just, I said, honestly, that was one of the greatest races in history. And he's like, yeah, thanks, whatever.
I think that's widely acknowledged. Yeah. Pretty much everyone says that.
But then I just said, hey, hey, America's we've got a 16-year-old. He's like, I know. He's like, his final 100 is amazing or something like that. Like he was like, he knew about his kick. He'd clearly seen the video. And then he starts talking to me about and I think he's really dangerous. There's no pressure. I was like, wow, this is incredible. So I started a thread David Rudisha knows who Copper Luckenhouse is. His kick is officially world famous. But so given that, I was thinking, and what I said in the elevator was, I said, and what's crazy is he runs like a veteran. It's like he just knows how to run. Like USA's, it went out super fast. He sat back and just slowly moved up, and then blasted the last 200 and mowed everybody down and got second place. And I was just praising his tactics. And then literally like 15 minutes later, it's the opposite. He goes out in the back, and then instead of just sitting there and trusting his kick, he tries to like move up mid-pack. But he runs like Athing Mo. He's clearly not comfortable running in the pack. He was like, instead of running on the outside of lane 1, he was just flat out in the middle of lane 2 because he wasn't used to running to people. So he ran basically, I would say, every turn in lane 2. Maybe one of them he dipped into the outside of lane 1. Ran so much extra ground. Remember, it's 7 meters per lap in lane 2. So it's basically a second a lap out there. And then with 200 to go, he finds himself in last. I'm like, he could have just saved so much ground. If I was the coach, I would have kept it simple. Stay in the back for 600 and mow them down. I think that's what I would have done. Either that or get up in the front. Like, don't try to get mid-pack. You can never move up. My number one rule in 800 is you have one move. You have one move. And the Rojo maxims were shown on full display today. You have one move in the hitter, and he moved up and between 200 and 600 and got nowhere. Ended up in last place, or next to last. He might as well have just stayed in the back. So he used his move way too early. He still tried to rally, and he's like, yeah, I thought I could do it with 150 to go. And the disappointing thing to me, guys, was, because again, it was an amazing year, was he said the workouts between USA's and here were phenomenal. He's like 10 out of 10. So can we set up a time trial somehow? Can we get a Ravage for him? I would like to see what he can do. I think this guy, honestly, like, you're talking about the world record, and we've been talking about Project 139, A-Rop, Wanyoni. Let's hope it's Cooper, because what a magical year. But the law of averages. What does Rojo say? Everything's got to average out to 50%. He had the most amazing race at USA's, and this was a dud.
Robert, set up a time trial. I was thinking after when we were talking today, he's like, I run 147 for a high school kid isn't bad. This is before USA's. This was the old high school record, what he ran today, essentially. It was a poor race for him, and he ran most of it in lane 2 and 3.
This was two seconds slower than the high school record.
What did he run?
He ran 147. He ran a bad race. It happens. It's his first time on the world stage.
But
and
it was more of a tactical thing for me. If you don't run an extra 20 meters, I think he could have possibly made it. He wasted so much space. Like, I think that's what happened. And then it's, of course, hard to kick because you've been running faster than everyone else. I honestly think this is more of a tactical thing and lack of experience, because this is the 1, 2, there's 3 rounds at USA's, right? So this is the 4th time in his life. I guess he ran Melrose. The 5th time in his life, essentially, he's ever raced guys like this. And this is it's a level above USA's. Come on, guys. The last guy, USA's, the first round is a complete joke. So the second round at USA's is probably more the equivalent of the first round here, but it's not. The back few guys just aren't nearly as good as the guys here. So they're more likely to fight you off for a position. You got to sort of know how to, like, just don't be out, essentially. He was in lane 3 at times.
Look, it's hard.
800. Why are you in lane 3?
I mean, the reality is we're saying it was a disastrous race from a tactical standpoint, and guess who he beat? He only beat 2 guys in the race. Guess who finished right behind him? The NCAA indoor champion, Matthew Erickson of Canada. So, we're holding this kid to unreal standards, but I wanted to be shocked again. I wanted to see this guy contend for a medal, get in the final, but he was 147.68 to make the final. You had to run 146.54. So that was 1.1 seconds. Did he run 1.1 seconds of extra ground? I think he probably did. It would have been hard. I mean, Gabriel, the 4th placer in this race, the guy that did not make it, is Mariano Garcia of Spain, former world indoor champion, who's got one of the best kicks we've seen at the pro level, indoors. Ever.
Yeah, I mean, he's always, well, I guess he did win Euros a couple of years ago, but he's generally better indoors than outdoors. Okay, let's talk about some of these other heats, because
I mean, Gabriel Tull, who did make it today, he's a 143.09. Actually, he's run 142.7 this year.
He ran 141 last year. No, I mean, it's the World Championships. It's going to be a high level. The mistakes are going to be punished.
The guy that was 3rd in his heat today, Gabriel Tull, was 6th in the Olympic final last year. So, I mean, you'd have to beat the 6th placer in the Olympics to move on. Cooper, keep up the good work. Amazing year. Amazing year.
Yeah, no, great season, nothing to be ashamed of, and I'm sure he will learn from this. And the next time he'll be ready and say, "Hey, okay."
And
He's not used to running with other people. He's run USA.
Well, that's what was so shocking about USA's. It was like he'd watched a bunch of YouTube videos. He knew how to run the race perfectly, and this reminded me kind of Alan Webb. It's just not comfortable being around people, etc. But
okay, the other heats here. To me, there are two guys who I thought looked really good. One was Emmanuel Wanyonyi, and one was Donovan Brazier. I had questions about some of the other contenders. A lot of these heats were very close. Marco Arop looked shaky to me. He only got the third auto spot in his heat by 0.06. And I was asking him about it. I'm like, hey, kind of came down to the wire there. Did you see Samuel Chappell from the Netherlands, like closing on the inside? So, oh yeah, I saw him. Like, I kind of knew, like, even though it was 6/600ths of a second, I thought it was okay. It's like, I don't know. It didn't look convincing to me. And then some of these other races, I thought Brazier looked quite in control. There was a little part where the Moroccan athlete tried to cut in on him with about 120 to go or so. Brazier fought him off.
Let's talk about that. I mean, okay. a lot of people in the U.S., particularly on the West Coast, did not watch this race. They would have been sleeping. But yeah, on the second, was that between 600 and 700? On the second lap, they're going around the turn, and the Moroccan guy tries to come in on Brazier. He was slightly ahead of Brazier, but not by a step and a half. Tries to come in on him, and Brazier just puts his arm out and hits him. Way harder than Cole Hocker hit anybody. But my initial thought was, John seemed worried about it. I'm not worried about that. The guy doesn't have the right to, just because he's 6 inches ahead of him, just to cut him off on the turn. You can't move in. I thought Brazier was totally justified in defending his space, and Brazier acted like nothing afterwards. It wasn't a big deal. So, it can be rough at this level. So, but, we say there's no contact allowed in the sport. There is contact allowed. Now, this was different than what Cole Hocker. For the record, I've thought a lot about the Cole Hocker thing since last night. I was outraged. I still wish that he was in the final as a fan. I get why he was DQ'd.
But the rule needs to be changed. There was barely any contact.
What do you mean? So you're going to let people hit somebody else and then open it?
If you can sneak through like that and barely touch someone and just graze them when you're at a push like this and nobody does anything, yes, who cares?
It's in the last 50.
Those are boring enough as it is.
Okay.
I kind of feel like they should have let it go, but I get it. I'm changing my turn. But look, we've got a top coach, Justin Rinaldi, coach of Josh Holloway, coach of Australian record holder Peter Bull, who didn't Peter Bull improve his PB by like a second and a half this year? By the way, so Bull's made the Olympic final, I think, before.
He was fourth in Tokyo in 2021. Yeah.
And he goes out in the first round here despite running faster than ever and seemed not disappointed. I was kind of surprised. Like the way he was talking to the press, I assumed he made it. Then I looked down and what was the time?
1:45.15. He was fourth. He missed it by 200ths of a second. He was in Hoppel's heat. I thought Hoppel actually looked pretty good, looked decent. He had to work. The home straight, very impressive by Cian McPhillips of Ireland to win that one in 1:44.91. But Hoppel was very optimistic because his last two, and I was surprised because his last two races after USA's, he was only third at USA's. Grind, he ran 1:42. He goes to Lausanne, 9th in 1:48. Zurich, 1:43.78, but that's only good for 7th. I said, were you worried about those races coming in? He's like, not really. I was peaking for this meet and was doing some heavy lifts. Like USA's, you had to be ready for that. And, it's really hard to make that team. So he had to be pretty ready to go. And the month after USA's, he said he was really focused on just training and making sure, he was balancing these tough workouts with these Diamond League races. And he's like, they get after it every time in the Diamond League. So it's hard to be at that level when you are in a heavy training block. He seemed quite confident about where he's at. So we shall see as the rounds go on. But
Hoppel's a gamer. He's very competitive. Maybe he can make the final. I totally discounted last year. He got fourth almost in round 141. I haven't seen anything indicative of that this year. So I'm glad that he made it. He fought hard. He took control of the race up front. But look, when you're losing to Cian McPhillips, that's surprising. This kid from Ireland who won the heat was very impressive. I call him a kid. He's 23. And I was talking to Cordell Tinch, Irish Press, because I was the only guy interviewing him because Cordell told me he won the heat, but then Cordell was somewhere else. So I just started interviewing. I didn't know much about him. But he's like, look, he was a European junior champion in the 1500. But 2021. He came over to Melrose, actually won the Melrose, I think, the high school mile. It was more of a 1,500-meter guy. He's gotten really big and kind of jacked. But we talk about Luckenhouse 142 out in the first round. This guy's PB is only 144.19, and he took it to Bryce Hoppel. Won the heat and said he was kind of surprised by it, but this is his first Worlds or Olympics, and he just wins the heat. So, he's like, I've been running pretty well. He won a race in Dublin on July 4th, 144. That was the PB, 144.19. Second, the Irish trials. And then she ran 144.34, I think, in Belgium. So that was a little bit surprising. I think that if an American's going to medal, and let's hope America, I thought that we had a shot to medal and potentially win every single distance event. Not likely that we win the steeple, but legitimate shot in every event. And I think now we haven't medaled in the steeple. We haven't medaled in the 10. I don't expect us to medal in the 1,500. And I think that our hope in the 800 is definitely Donovan Brazier. What good. We talked to him afterwards, John, and I said, Donovan, are you surprised that you haven't been training that long? John asked him about, it was like February or March, and he wanted to do his first track workout, 6x200. He's been living in Florida for years. He didn't even know what track to go to because he hasn't had to do a track workout. So Mike Smith's like, go do 6x200 at a track. And Donovan had to figure out which track he would go run on because he hasn't run on a track in years. But I'm like, are you surprised that you're PRing? What explains that? Is it bicarb? Is it shoes?
He's still never used bicarb, by the way.
Thank God.
It's coming down the world record, baby.
Not using it. There's no cheating on this.
He said nobody's heard mixed reviews. So it sounds like some people have had problems with it.
So he's like, I think it's a lot of it is the shoes, is what he said.
Yeah. Look,
he said
this guy's just a freak talent. That's what you got to remember.
But John, he's running faster than when he was in his more peak physical form and training for years.
I'm aware of that, so I do think the shoes help. And also, you got to remember, he ran that personal best. He was out on his own for the end. He did have, I think it was Vasquez, the Puerto Rican, sort of rabbiting him the first lap, but he didn't have someone to chase or something like that. It's a little different. The 800 is run a little bit differently these days. Just in terms of how aggressive people are.
But he ran his PB at the Olympic trial, at the U.S. trials.
I know, but he wasn't leading any of that. He only took the lead in the last 20 meters. Anyway, his talent alone doesn't just explain that. I do think there are other things going in this event. It's probably the shoes would make the most logical sense. But let's look at these semifinals because I've been saying all year, we're going to have 3-3-3 in terms of qualifiers, top three, and we're going to have a 9-person final because apparently that's what World Athletics has said. Now, Justin Rinaldi, famed 800-meter coach, has said in the comments here, they apologized, said that's actually not correct. It's going to be what they traditionally do, top two in each heat plus 2 time qualifiers.
Insane.
And if you look at heat 1 of the semifinals, you have the following men in it: Emmanuel Wanyonyi, Marco Arop, Jamal Sajadi. So that is the 3 medalists from Paris last year, all in the same heat. Only 2 of them can get auto spots. You've also got Ben Patterson, who is the bronze medalist from 2023. He hasn't been running as well since then, but he's been coming back into form. So all 6 medals across the last 2 global championships are accounted for in this heat. Only 2 of them can make it through automatically.
The 800 semis is the hardest, I think, event in track and field because you go from 24 to 8, and it's tactics. And I hate this format. Why not do? You have 9 lanes on this track. You could even make people share a lane. You could easily take 10 to a final. What?
No sharing lanes in World Championship finals.
No, they should.
No,
John, you easily could.
I 100%. You shouldn't, but they're keeping the 9th lane available probably in case there's a protest or a fall. They can put that person in. They shouldn't do it.
3-3-3 is so much better. Like
if you're gonna medal,
the 2-time qualifiers, the 800 is not a time trial.
It's right.
There's tactics involved, so it's unfair. If you're in the 3rd heat, you have such an advantage. I expect these first guys, someone to probably take the heat fast and try to get it. But to be honest, I don't know. I probably expect A-Rob to go out of this one. He's been looking shaky all year.
Yeah, well, the question, I guess, you're just sort of, if you're those guys, do you rely on, okay, Wanyonyi usually makes it pretty quick, we'll just trust him to push it? Because Wanyonyi's heat today, I'm looking he was 145. He was only the 13th fastest guy. So if you're Marco O'Rourke, do you just say, I don't want to take any chances. I'm going to try to push it and hope that we can maybe get the time qualifiers too.
I think Marco might try to push it, actually.
I think that makes the most sense for him, honestly.
I think-
Because Sajadi's a kicker. He's not going to push it.
Right. If I'm A-Rob, I take it out. And I'm still bullish on A-Rob. I've been saying all year. Everyone else is discounting him. Like, he's run faster this year than he did at any other chance in his point in his life before Worlds. And
Today's race didn't worry you?
No. I thought he looked fine. Actually, no, he looked fine. And I've been reading into this. Like, I did not think that I didn't think Josh Kerr looked great when he dove the other day. Somebody else was kind of like pushing at the end of this race. I'm like, I'm reading into this. I wasn't reading into, like, he was in second place. The guy in front of him was clearly fading. The Kenyan in front of him was clearly fading. And instead of being like Cole Hawker and wanting to get boxed in, he decided, I better just be double safe and run slow down, go behind him, and go outside in case he tries to cut me off on the rail. And that way I'll have space. So he had to run a lot of extra ground. He didn't have a turbo, but he saw the guy out there, it made me a little bit nervous, 0.06, but not really. I think for the most part, he was just like, when you have to run a lot of extra ground, it takes time. So, but that heat is ridiculous. And it should be top 3 in X3.
Well, I mean,
and
but
if you end up with 10 people in the final because of a foul or a fall, then you have them share the line.
Correct.
Whoever gets in, it's in the rule book, you're not supposed to share the lanes. But if you're in the final because you got placed there, you fell, whatever. The second heat, it's just, you've got the good news for Brazier. You've got Brazier in there.
I don't see this one honestly being that much easier. Max Bergen, I think, is one of my medalists. So, like, Max Bergen, coming into this, I would rate him equal to Marco. Essentially, they're like
based on this
trajectory.
Okay, well, so who's the third person there then?
Gabriel Tell's won 141 as well. It's like it's not quite as strong, but like, okay. I mean, all these guys, fine. The back end isn't as strong or something, but like, I don't know. Let me see heat number 3.
I think
heat number 3 much easier because essentially none of these. It is so hard. This is why I think it's the hardest thing, because like every year, usually one of the stars just does not make it out of this round.
Right. Heat 3, I think, is the easiest. You've got Hoppel, and you've got Mohamed Atoui. He's probably the best guy based on how he's been doing this year. Just ran that sick 2:12 1K. He won a Diamond League early this year. But you've also got Masalela in there from Botswana. His season's best is he's the third guy under 143. It's Hoppel, Atoui, and Masalela. And that Masalela 142, though, that was way back on May 25th. And he hasn't run faster than 143 since then. So to me, I think this is the Hoppel lucked out a bit. He got the best heat draw. And I think he doesn't really have any excuses if he doesn't make the final out of this.
I mean, this one is so much easier. I mean, this is crazy, actually. Hoppel, how would we rate his season? It's been very inconsistent, all over the place. And he kind of said, like, look, it's so hard, the Diamond League these days. I know what I need to do to be ready, like stuff in the weight room. And then he's like, racing on top of that's hard. But if you told me in a semi he would have the fastest,
this might be good for
of somebody, it would be shocking. Like, so he's got a good chance, and you put him in the final, anything can happen.
Try to knock off one of the medalists in the first heat, and if they roll the dice.
So,
I'm not sure if Hoppel would want to push it, but like if the first heat is like 143.8 or something, are you just going to try to run 143.5 and knock those guys out by pushing it? I guess that's something you got to decide in the moment, but. This 800 is, and also the quality is so much better now. When that first heat went off today, and I was like, wow, only 3 of these guys make it. And there's just the back end of these races isn't what it once was. Like everyone now is like essentially a 145 guy or better. Yeah, that's what you have to be to get in the meet. But like it used to be, I feel like there would be such a spread between the best guy and the worst guy. And now it's like, no, that's not how it is. A lot of these heats were very close finishes, and that it does show you how difficult it is to make it through some of them. So the semis will be on Thursday night in Tokyo, which is Thursday morning in the United States. So those will be fun to watch. There was one other track final today. That was the men's 110-meter hurdles. And did we talk about this already? We talk about Cordell Tinch?
No.
I mean, I may have mentioned in the top. We said 2 years ago, this guy was running D2. He'd been out of the sport for years, and now he's the world champion. Shout out to Kyle Rutledge of Pittsburgh State. I got an interview with him. To me, it's a win for the Dreamers, never giving up. And Coach Rutledge told me, he's like, look, I had to talk him into coming in. We heard about him. We had a teammate, one of our guys on our teams was friends with him, and he went to play college football. In high school, he was an incredible jumper. And then he's like, and I heard about him. So I was like, hey, man, why don't you might be interested in giving a track another go. I'm like, why don't you come back to us? He's like, I don't know. I've got a job. And he was selling cell phones. He's like, look, dude, you don't want to live in your life with regrets. And that's so true. I can relate to that. I think a lot of 20-year-olds can relate to that. When Weldon got pretty good post-collegiately, I mean, I had been injured in high school and college, hadn't really been running, but I'm like, I'm genetically the same. I'm like, well, Weldon might make these fourth in the USA. It's like, what if I could be good? So I was just like, okay, I'm going to give myself a year to run. Now, I didn't obviously get to Cordell Tinch's level, but you don't want to look back when you're old. You only have your youth, your physical prime once. So they kind of talked him into it. And then just the first year, he was insane. He was jumping out of this world, running these incredible wind-aided times. And now he's the world champion. 12.99, dominant fashion. Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason of Jamaica go 2-3, 13.08, 13.12. And as we said, Grant Holloway didn't even make the final. But I asked Coach Rutledge, I was like, do you view this as like, I always wondered, like, there's so many good coaches out there. We saw this. Grant Fisher's coach was a high school coach. And then he gets the talent, and they did it. This guy, Mr. Rutledge, was like a pole vaulter in college. And now he's just coached the world champion. He just I love track. Cordell's a great guy. And he did it. It's just cool. It's just a cool story. And just the emotion on his face when he won it. Just a wonderful race.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even make the U.S. Olympic team last year. It was such a brutal trials race, top three. It took sub-13 to make the team, and Tinch was devastated. And I said, how'd you recover from that? He said, well, look, 2023, when the year started, he hadn't run a race in 3 years. So he wasn't even thinking to make it. The fact that he made world championships that year is close to a miracle. And then the next year is his first full year as a pro. And obviously it took a really fast time just to make it on the team. The hurdles, he might have been the fourth or fifth best hurdler in the entire world that year and just got shut out because he happens to run for the US. So this year they changed a few things. They got ready for knowing it was going to be a long season and made it here. But no, this backstory, Robert, just to dig into it a little bit more. He committed to run at Minnesota for football and track. And then the coach that recruited him left to take a job at Kansas after one semester. So he transfers to Kansas, doesn't really like it there, and goes to Coffeyville Junior College in the fall of 2020. He never ran a race for them though. And he just wasn't into it, wasn't feeling it. He talked about his mental health was like a big thing. And at that point, he dropped out and decided to go back home to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and start selling cell phones. And that was basically it. The next 2 years, he wasn't like Donovan Brazier trying to rehab an injury or anything like that or getting paid. He was just not doing anything. He'd play an occasional game of basketball. That's basically all he did for like physical activity. And then one of his old roommates, Trayvon Ferguson, who had been with him at Kansas, had been with him at Coffeyville, he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to pound down to Pittsburgh State with a bunch of our friends. Like, you're coming, right? And Trayvon talked Rutledge into, offering him a spot on the team. He gets academically eligible, enrolls in January 2023. And by that summer, he's running 12.96 and he's at the World Championships. It's just, it's such a cool story.
Right? He's a freak athlete. And interesting, like great talker. Like he reminds me of the guy whose crown he took in many ways, John. And someone we're kind of a little bit, I don't know, worried's the right word, but Grant Holloway. Grant Holloway was just not himself at these championships. He struggled throughout the year, but I expected him to make the final. He was total non-factor today in the semi. 13.5 or something. What was it, John?
Yeah, it was 13.5. He didn't you could tell almost immediately because Grant, even in his bad races, Grant has the best start in the field, and either he'll get run down or he holds them off. This time, he wasn't even far in front or anything. I'm like, well, that he can't do. He's not going to be able to close like this. So I don't know what's going on with Holloway. He doesn't seem to be having fun at this meet. He didn't talk after the prelims, didn't talk after the semis, and
gave John a fist bump. But he seems like this guy's. He's usually so happy, likes to talk. He seems down.
look,
obviously it's not going well, but like the sport of hurdling is better. If we had Grant Holloway and Tinch firing on all cylinders, it would be great. I mean, the U.S. is so good and deep. I mean, Trey Cunningham didn't even make it here this year, so it's like,
if you're a U.S. hurdler, men or women, it's almost impossible. But look, we've had Grant on the podcast before. You know, we're mainly a distance website, but he calls John and I his homies. You're my homies. You've been there since day one, because we've been covering him since, you know, freshman year at Florida. But it was disappointing to me that he wouldn't talk to the media. Like, it's easy to talk to the media and be the bubbly personality when things are on top, and this guy's been on top forever. But your true character is revealed when you're struggling. So, like, if
you don't know what he's going through, Robert.
I know, but
like,
just say, if it's a personal, let's just say it's a personal. If it's an issue or whatever, I'm just not motivated. I agree with the comments. Like, he's one of my favorite athletes, but all in the game says Grant should take a break from the event in 2026. He's talked about that before. I think, like, I've accomplished it all. And I tried to tell him last year, I said, you haven't. There's one thing that he needs to be the GOAT. He needs the world record. But like, next year's not a world year. If I was him, I would try the 400 hurdles. I mean, this is a guy that splits 43 in the 400. It wouldn't shock me if he could win the world title in the 400 hurdles. I mean, as good as those other guys are, it would be surprising. But I would like to see him run the 400 hurdles or the long jump. And actually, Coach Rutledge told me, he's like, sometimes at practice, Cordell will still. I go, why doesn't he jump? Is it bad for the training? You know, is it hard to train for the long jump and the hurdles? He's like, no. He's like, there's not a lot of money in the long jump. You know, but he's like, no, actually, he's like, Cordell still likes it. It's like sometimes in practice, he'll just go long jump just for a break. So Grant Holloway was an amazing jumper, high jumper and long jumper in high school. I would spice it up, kind of do the not Devin Allen,
Ashton Eaton,
you know, take a break from the decathlon for a year and then come back 2026, take the break in 2026, come back in 2027, because this was his disastrous year. I hope that more comes out. Like, we kind of, like, he just wasn't himself. I asked Rutledge, I said, hey, what do you think is going on? You know, he had the utmost respect for it. He's like, look, what Holloway and Grant have accomplished in this event are insane. He's like, absolutely insane. I'm like, well, do you think there's something else going on, like a family issue or an injury, and we don't know about it? And he's like, I haven't heard it. You know, he didn't want to speculate on that, but he's like, it could just be that he's just pressing. He's like, he's not used to pressing. And when things aren't going well, you try to press, and it's like golf. It makes it worse.
That could be it, Robert. But something like that might be it, or it's something. If
but
it's
he used
something
to be
else,
so effortless. Like 13-1 was a bad race for him.
Right.
13-12 medal today.
What I would say is, he was injured coming into the winter. Like, he had a brace when he opened his season in Boston, and he kind of talked about that a little bit. Then he goes to Jarman. Something's up. He comes off hurdle 8, I think, weird. And then he doesn't race for 2 months. We never really got an explanation what happened, because I never heard this was the specific injury. This is what went wrong. I never heard any of that. He just didn't compete. I didn't get the chance. He didn't run the final at USA's. I didn't ask him then. And I was going to ask him, you know, what was that break? What's been going on with you? Again, he didn't talk after the prelims or semis. I can understand if it is some personal off-the-track problem and you don't want to open up about it. I can understand why he just doesn't – he wants to shut off the world, and, like, maybe he's in a dark place. So I don't want to totally judge him on that. But, I would love for him to discuss what was going on, obviously, but it's his right not to. It is kind of a bummer, like, you know, he has been on top for so long that we don't get to hear from him. But I hope that in his own time, he will be able to offer an explanation.
He's got his own podcast. Maybe we should listen to it.
I would like to, I'd like to hear what's up, or as much as he's willing to share, because this is one of the sport's great champions. And yeah, coming into Worlds, I didn't think he was going to win, but he'd run 13-1 a bunch of times. He was second in his most recent Diamond League before this. I didn't think he'd be going out with a 13:52 in the semis. So this was bad. And yeah, something seems to be up with him.
I mean, these are by far basically his 2 worst races of the year.
He ran 13:72 in Jarman, but I don't really count that because that was, something was up at the end of the race. But yeah, it's unfortunate for him. I think we should appreciate 3 straight world titles and an Olympic title. This is one of the most consistent championship performers we've ever seen. And he's not the most consistent. And then let's get to her. I just will say I agree with Hull in the game. Next year probably makes sense for him to take up a different event, get away from all the expectations and the hurdles. And I think that would be something that would be fun for him as well. So
he's kind of, I felt like last year it was clear to me that he didn't feel like there was a lot less to accomplish. He needs a world record, but maybe he should take on this year. Like, look at Sydney. We're talking about the most consistent performer ever. This is the woman that has set a world record in her last 3 global championship finals, all in the 400 hurdles. She set 6 world records in the 400 hurdles. She switches to the flat 400. She needs a new challenge. There's Paulino, there's Nasser. These are some of the fastest women in history. And what are we going to get? We kind of, the expectations are high. She's keep looking for Sonia Richards-Ross record, which has stood since
2006.
Almost.
It was exactly 19 years. It was set today, September 16th, 2006.
And like Sydney's running in heat 3 today, coming down the finish, and I'm like, she's way ahead, just cruising. And I'm like, oh my God, like Sonia Richards-Ross, your record of 48.70, which was the 25th fastest time in history coming in, that's gone. 48.29, which puts her, that's the 11th fastest time ever run in terms of different people.
Robert, what did you think when you saw this time? Because I looked over and I'm like, okay, she probably ran 49 low. It's a world championship semifinal. In the heat before, Salwa Eid Nasser ran 49.47. And I was like, that looked fast to me. Amber Anning, the runner-up in this race, ran 49.38. So,
oh my God,
these were
she did?
Yeah, these were crazy fast times.
She was so far ahead.
It took.
I would assume she won by 2 or 3 seconds.
No. I mean, it's just I was like, okay, if she ran 40, Sydney probably ran 49 low, and then Anning ran like 50.0 or something like that.
I mean, she let off the gas a little bit, not a ton.
She said the last 30 was more reserved, in her words. Sydney.
And then cruising. So she's 7th fastest in history, and here are the names of ahead of her. We haven't seen, when I first thought it, my first thought was, could we get the world record? Which was a crazy thought because I always thought all along, Bobby Kersey, who I've criticized the hell out of for his work with Sydney for Ah Thing Mo, I was like, why are we talking about beating a steroids record? Like, as good as Sydney is, I don't expect her to beat a steroids record. That's insane to me. And after this, I was like, wow, she let up and ran 48.29. Now, when you're letting up, it doesn't impact you as much. But I certainly think after today that a sub 48 is on the table. Only 2 women in history have ever broken 48. Marita Koch was the last to do it, and when she set the world record, October 6, 1985. So it's almost 40 years old. And then Jamila Krejcikova, is that the 800 world record holder too, John?
Yes.
Ran 47.99 in 1983. The only people, now Nasser's number 3 all time at 48.14. Paulina's run 48.17. Like, the gold medal now is Sydney is heavy favorite to me. Heavy favorite for this one. And I fully expect the gold. And I think it was messy. I'm like, this woman, like, we can criticize her for not racing a lot. She tried to do a Grand Slam track actually this year when she's getting paid a ton. But you can't criticize the performance.
I mean, it's so stunning how she does it.
It's just unreal. And 6 world records in the 400 hurdles. And the only thing that's crazy is, like, she's been in the past, like, USA is looking at that clock, wanting to see her get the record, and you can tell she's disappointed. But today she destroys the record, and there's no reaction. In the mix zone, there's no reaction. Like, honey, it's okay. Smile, have some fun.
Yeah, it's so funny because she's so good, and then just sort of, I feel like she puts so much pressure on herself. She finally got the record and kind of like, whoa, kind of was like, look at the bewilderment on her face. And one, I think that shows, even when we're talking about this a little bit in the hurdles, you can press too much. So I guess my only question in the final is like, could she press too much? But no, after seeing this, I'm just like, wow, why were we doubting her? Like, now, Paulino has run faster than this, 48.17. So if Paulino brings it, and that was last year at the Olympics, but now I question Sydney coming into this because I'm like, I expect her to get that record so many different times. She didn't do it. I'm like, well, maybe she just can't figure out the flat 400. Maybe it's way more different than I think because your speed has to be amazing.
I thought maybe she was a pretty good athlete who's perfect at the hurdles. Now I think she's just an amazing athlete who's also great at the hurdles.
Yeah, world record talk sounds nuts, but this woman just.
Look, you run 48.2 in a semi. I'm thinking the world record it's at least a possibility.
Well, I guess
I think it's probably not going to happen, but I'm never going to discount her in a global final. And
it's more likely she doesn't break 48.
Her reactions, the closest we ever get to her showing personality on the track or at these meets is when she looks at the finish line clock in these 400 flat races. And like you see, she's a little disappointed about not breaking the American record in the 400s. Other than that, the world records, she's not celebrating up and down like Mondo. She's not going crazy when she crosses the line, winning a gold medal. In the media, the mix zone, every time she walks through the mix zone, it's like there's a plate glass wall between her and the media. She will answer your question. She'll be polite about it. She'll be professional. She will reveal very little. She will very rarely show any sort of emotion about anything.
What?
One of the people, we were texting the guy, someone who's here in Tokyo watching, he's like, yeah, she's just basically a Terminator when she's on the track or at practice. And that's a good word for her. All she does, she's just singularly focused on winning. Watch her when she's introduced on the starting line at these championships. Pretty much, I would say 90% of athletes, they'll say their name. Yeah, they'll wave to the crowd. They're like, hey, I'm here, World Championships. So they'll blow a kiss or something. Sydney McLaughlin, her name will be introduced. She's just staring at the ground, stepping from side to side, doesn't do anything. She never acknowledges anything. She's just 100% locked in on running as fast as she can in every single race.
I did notice she's very focused, even just standing there on the line. It's not like she's blowing off the camera. It was just like not a concern. I just kind of saw this look. I was like, well, that's a sim.
I don't know why we're criticizing it.
I'm not criticizing her. I'm saying this is how
No, I'm saying for years.
Obviously, as fans, though, you want more. I haven't heard her interview. It's only a minute. I'm going to listen to it.
Sydney, you've been chasing the American record for a long time. You got it tonight. How does it feel?
Yeah, honored for sure. Definitely wasn't expecting that time, but it just shows the fitness is there. Excited for the finals, and grateful to have taken down a record by an amazing woman.
Did you feel like, how much more did you feel like you had in the tank? Did you feel like you had more in the tank tonight?
I think the last 30 meters were a bit more reserved, just trying to maintain. But yeah, I mean, it was a fast time. Definitely got to go home and get some treatment.
Were you surprised to see that time?
A little bit, yeah, for sure. I wasn't expecting that, but like I said, it's not surprising because I know the work's been put in. It's really just about executing, and I'm grateful that it showed me that it's there.
What have you been doing in training since you haven't raced since USA's?
Yeah, I had an amazing training partner, Willington, who was pacing me through. So he's a quarter miler who's really strong. Definitely just helped me with my fitness and just kind of simulating what those rounds are going to feel like. And we did a great job of that.
All right, we're going to go get her rested out.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I want to know what this dude Willington does. But I saw a smile there, John. And people are saying she's stoic. She offsets Noah. Also in the betting, she went from minus 110, which is like 50%, to minus 900.
Well, that's absurd. Minus 900, that's absurd.
That means 9 out of 10 times I think she wins.
I think that's disrespectful to Paulino and Nasser. These are two women who've both run faster than what Sydney ran today. Now, Sydney, she did not look close to all out, but at the same time, in the final.
And when you press, you sometimes go out too hard and you slow down. This may be the max. It may be what we were just talking about in the hurdles. You're more relaxed, you run a better race. You try to run too fast, you blow up, and you pay for it. So that's a good point. I think minus 900 is too much. My concern about Paulino and Nasser is look at what they ran in the first Grand Slam track meet. Look at what they've been running since. They have not raised their game. There's no indication they're going to get back to that level that they were at before. But as an athlete, I guess our job is sort of as journalists is to criticize sometimes. It's like it's not fair. Like you're no law. It's over the top. It's too much. And then Sydney's like, it's too little. I mean, I guess that's just the world.
I don't think Noah's over the top. He's being Noah, and Sydney is being. I think there is a personality down under there, and she's just a private person and doesn't want to share it with the world. But she doesn't want us to, certainly in the media and mixed zones interviews, she doesn't want us to see it, and that's how some athletes deal with the world. I think probably in the NFL and some of these other pro sports where they have to talk to the media every day. You have athletes like that. They're just told by the coaches, hey, don't give anything away. Just be as boring as possible.
All right, people. I mean, the U.S. has a much more open thing with the media. Like the top professional sports, they're mandated to talk to the media. But a lot of sports aren't like that. Like soccer, the Premier League, they almost never speak to the media, the players.
All right, there's hundreds of you listening live. We got to take a break for a word from our sponsor. What's the name of the restaurant, John? I'm kidding. They're not our sponsor. Shout out to this place was amazing. It's world famous. There's like 4 of them within like 2 blocks of each other.
Momo Paradise. I wouldn't.
Not sure
I'm
it's
not sure if.
world
Yeah,
famous.
I don't know what you're getting.
It's at least Google Maps famous. A 4.9 star.
It was thousands of
7,000
reviews.
reviews.
That was the highest.
All you can eat. It's like all you can eat. It's like beef and steak, and it's unreal. There's a picture of us, the Mahowskis, and not only that, you get unlimited Coke. I think it would have been about $30 a person, and you can actually do all you can drink too if you really want to go crazy. And that's only like all you could drink was like $15. I'm talking beers.
Well, this is for an hour and 40 minutes, though. It wasn't like stay for as long as you want.
So thankfully we did not do that, folks. We're into moderation.
It was a lovely meal.
All right. Paulino did not run faster than 49.20 according to all the game in the Paris Olympics, then dropped 48.17. So Paulino was the one that led up today, John? Or is that?
Yeah, no, Paulino led up and almost cost herself because she led up way too early and ended up moving. I think the lane draw for the final, I think she's in lane 9 now because of that. Yeah, so lane 9, not a death sentence. We have seen Wade Van Niekerk win from lane 9, but
Wait, which one likes to go out super hard?
it's usually NASA. Paulino's a closer. So it's going to be interesting. Does SML go with Nasser and just hang with her and try to separate, or does she hang back a little bit? Like, how does she choose to approach the race?
She's going to have both of them in front of her.
So SML is going to be in lane 5. Nasser's in 7. Paulino in 9. Maybe will Paulino get harder than normal? She's running blind. Like, this is what makes the sport good. Sydney took on a new challenge. Look, I think she's going to be the golden girl. She's going to get the double 2028. But it's like, we knew Faith was going to win. We knew Sydney was going to destroy these girls. No, we didn't. We did not know Sydney was going to do this. It's like now she's the most clutch performer. Yeah, we knew she was the most clutch ever in the 400 hurdles, definitely. But this was cool. All right, tomorrow. Tomorrow is I'm losing track of my days here. Tomorrow's Wednesday.
That's the day that we've been circling the entire year.
It's today,
the men's
actually.
1500
It's
final.
actually today.
Yeah.
Men's 1500 meter final. It's a little anticlimactic, but we're excited. The guy that used to listen to the podcast is going to lay waste to the field. Niels Laros. Hopefully his mom and dad come to if you're here in Tokyo, we want to see you at the Sports Club meetup. It's a bar right by the stadium.
5 to 7 p.m. What's the place called?
And how cool is that?
Forest Garden, Beer Garden.
Mr. and Mrs. Laros, from all indications, are showing up. They don't want to change it. Their son ran great 2 years ago when they showed up in Budapest.
Forest Beer Garden. Sorry, that's what it's called. Robert, you're just handing him the gold medal, though? Like, we're walking up the stairs, coming back to the apartment after the track tonight, and he's like, not even looking forward to this 1,500 meters anymore. Laros is just going to wipe the floor with everyone. I'm like, I don't know, man. How many times have we gone into these 1,500 finals saying, Jakob's going to win, or it's Jakob or Kerr, it's a 2-person race. We all know it's going to happen. And then some big surprise happens. I'm predicting it's going to be a mid-330s race, and we're going to get some craziness.
That's probably right. If Jakob was in this final, I think Laros would run away with it. But I also deeply respect Kerr, so maybe I shouldn't say that. Because Kerr's run 327, Laros is not. Or 320, yeah. Well, but Laros has run, I think.
Laros has run 329 low, closing in 12.5 for his last 100. I think he can run 327.
So if it was fast, I would think it was definitely. The problem is, and we've seen this in some of these races, when you run for gold, like Jessica Holt, sometimes you end up with the silver or the bronze, or you don't even medal. And the Dutch journalists are trying to say, hey, we'd be happy with the bronze. You say, well, it depends on how the race goes and what I do. But I think that Laros, what we've seen this year, Laros and Kerr are a step above everybody else in this field. Reynold Cheruiyot of Kenya also has a sick last kick. And if you're not in a good position, all these guys are pretty good. Jake Whiteman showing some signs of life, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And to have –
I don't know why you're so dismissive of Jonah Koech. He beat Cole Hawker. He beat Ethan Strand. You were saying both those guys could win this thing. So,
I was more high on Jonah Koech a week or two ago, despite the injury. Like, yes, he looked Diamond League. Yes, he won USA's. But he was so far back, and it took like a gift of God for him to get in there by 0.04. Like, I don't know how you can run in the back and 10th and qualify by 0.04 and think, oh, I had it all along. Now, again, Kerr made a college medal. Yes. Can he win it? I don't think so. So if you're asking for the most likely winners, Laurel's definitely, then Kerr, and then I'm going Reynald Chariot is my third choice in terms of people most likely to win the race.
Yeah, I could see that. I like his clothes. I'm questioning his positioning. I wonder if Timothy Cherry, I wonder if he can get back on there for a medal. He makes the final like pretty much every year. I think 2023 was the only one he missed, and his clothes have been pretty good as well this year.
It's interesting, like if you're the coach, it was so much easier. You didn't have to talk tactics. Now it's tactics. I think that the best place to be in a 1500 is either at the front or the back.
You don't want to be the back in a slow race. What do you like? Come on.
Look,
You have to be near the front when the kicking starts. There's no questions about that.
We've got the Rojo coaching mantra. Look, we got one move in the 800. Cooper used it way too early. Well, they still have the law of the averages. His race at USA's was amazing today. We hit a bomb, so they can average out to be average. But you can shut your brain off for the first 800. Even if it is tactical, you can run in the back. Then you need to make a damn big move between 800 and 1,000. Do it before 1,000 because everyone wants to move up at the bell. Make your move if you're in the back, make your move between 800 and 1,000 and keep going. Do not get scared. I don't care if you have to go into lane 3 in that turn between 900 and 1,000 and get up there. When you move into the front, you better get up there. So many guys get up to 4th or 5th and then they think, oh, I'm pretty good. I'm coming up to the turn. I don't want to run extra ground. They back up and they end up terrible. No. Once you move up, you can have 2 moves in 8, but once you move up, you better never go back. And if you're in the lead, if you're trying to run from the front, don't give it up. So, I think either would be, ideally everybody would be like in second place in the outside of lane 1, in the middle of lane 1, but then people can come around you. And that's what makes this race so much fun. It's the one race really where, and Lawrence has said this himself, like you have time to think. The 800 is kind of more instinctual. You don't have a lot of time. And it's 2 laps and, it's like who's slowing down the most. Here you've got some time. Where do you want to go? When do you want to make the move, etc. It's the best track event in the sport, the men's 1500. Sure, there's no Hawker, which is a shame. There's no Jakob. I actually think no Jakob makes it more interesting. But I would have loved to see Hawker. But hey, man, tomorrow.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Apologize to New Zealand. We didn't.
Oh, how much Kerr? You want to bow down? Has New Zealand won more golds than the U.S. in this meet, John? How much Kerr's won the high jump?
2 at least, right?
Weldon says we now. He's never been to New Zealand.
Well, if you're counting
Oh,
field
USA.
events, the US has
more.
Allman, they've got Tinch, they've got Krauser, they've got Tara Davis, they've got Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. It's not close, but 2 golds in 2 days for New Zealand is pretty great. Hamish Kerr, now world and Olympic champ in the high jump. Jordy Beamish in the steeple. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow to break down the men's 1,500 meter final. We've also got the women's steeplechase final, which should be a good one. Winfred Yavi going for the 3rd straight global title. And congrats to Kipyegon, Mondo Duplantis, and Ryan Krauser for completing the Golden Pentagon, according to Let's Run visitor Jed Brickner. Won 5 straight global titles, starting and ending in Tokyo from 21 to 25. Sufjan El Bakkali so close to joining them, but Jordy Beamish denied him.
By the way, we didn't talk about the Botswana dynasty in the men's 400. I think they had 3 guys in the 43s. You put Tobago on that thing, the U.S. might be in big trouble in the 4x4.
Yeah.
The world record could be in trouble.
Yeah, both Botswana and the U.S. almost broke it last year, so that's going to be interesting.
Let's hear in the comments, how do we sound, folks? We tried a new mic system today.
Hopefully it was on. We'll find out when I listen to this thing in a second.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.